Hello everyone, and welcome to Toon Runes, the show where we cover cartoons both old and new to answer the questions you've always asked. And today we're talking about one of the very subtle messages and themes in Steven Universe. Although, before we start today's video, it is important to note that I didn't come up with this idea by myself. While scrolling through Tumblr, I came across a post by user Certain Dream Chop Shop. I'll link the original post in the description as well as in the pinned comment so you can have a look. This post kind of sparked a realization in me that we'd been looking past one of the main themes of the show for the longest time. Parenthood. I'm talking about the parenthood and the relationships between all of the characters in the show with their parents or parental figures. And while you may be rolling your eyes at me going, well duh, that's literally what the main conflict for the entire show has been, Steven and Rose's relationship isn't the only one I'm referring to, though it may be the most obvious. While the unstable relationship between Steven and Rose has been the main focus of the show for the majority of the runtime, there is a lot of other parental relationships between basically the entire cast. We have the Frymans, the Deweys, the Pizzas, the Millers, the Maheshwarns, the Barrigas, the Onions, the Diamonds, the DeMayos, and the Gems. That's a lot of families, right? When I was writing the script for this video, I only realized just how many family sets are featured in the show, and I almost missed a few of them the first time. Regardless, the point of listing all of these families off was to link them together because they all have a common trait: the problems of parenthood and the struggles of being the child with a parent who is trying their best, but maybe not succeeding. Steven Universe is a show that tackles important and deep issues like mental illness, abuse, relationships, identity, and many others. But the one that wasn't as obvious and that we've all looked over was about how this entire show is seeing parenthood from a child's perspective. From main characters to side characters, there's a diverse range of different familiar relationships and parenting styles sprinkled throughout the show. For example, Sadie's mother, Barb, is extremely overbearing to the point where Sadie can't stand her. In the episode Sadie's Song, she goes a bit overboard in support for her daughter. According to Sadie, she does this whenever she shows interest in anything like softball or stuffed animals. In stark contrast, Sour Cream's adopted father, Yellowtail, is very apprehensive to supporting his son's interests in being a DJ in the episode Drop Beat Dad. He eventually comes around to support him in the end, but we see two very different parents and their parenting styles. We also have the Maheshwarns, who are controlling and overprotective of Connie, but soon become lax and allow her to go on magical adventures with Steven. We see the biggest shift in Priyanka's stance on the matter back in the episode Nightmare Hospital, where Connie reveals that she's been training with Steven to become a sword fighter. You also have Petey and his father back in the episode Frybo, where Petey reveals to his father that he hates wearing the Frybo costume and that he's always hated it. His father didn't realize that his son was that unhappy, so they end up getting rid of the nightmarish mascot together. While all very different situations, they all have one thing in common. We see these issues play out through the eyes of the child, not through the eyes of the adult. With Connie, we watch as she frantically tries to get Rose's sword back and originally fabricate the reason she had it in the first place. We watch as Sadie silently suffers and allows her mother and Steven to take over her Beach-a-Palooza performance. We watch Sour Cream lament over the fact that his father doesn't support him as a DJ and wants him to be a fisherman instead. We also see how Mr. Fryman thought his son was happy being the Frybo mascot, but is both understanding and surprised when he learns that what he thought was wrong. So many instances where we see parents who are all trying their best, but their best isn't what's right for their kid. They think that it is, but it ultimately is causing them more harm than good. This is especially seen with Blue and Yellow Diamond and how they treat Pink Diamond, which is what all these towny episodes were leading up to. The theme of this show the entire time was to show just how much children are affected by their parents and the positive and negative effects to how they parent. We especially see this with Steven, and it's why the show has and always will be from Steven's perspective. It's a pretty big joke in the fandom that Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl are like Steven's moms. We see how their actions in certain situations have either harmed or helped Steven, especially in episodes early on in the series like in the episode The Test. We know that the Gems only have the best intentions in rigging a test to boost his confidence, but at first this does more harm to Steven than good. Once he finds out their true intentions, he feels a bit better about the situation, but it ultimately still affected him somewhat negatively. We see how much well-intentioned actions from the Gems harm Steven first in the episode Joyride, which unintentionally is an episode that really nails home this overlooked theme. In the episode, Jenny, Buck, Sour Cream, and Steven hang out after the events of Jailbreak. They want to hang out with Steven to give him some time to relax, but in doing so all vent their frustration about their parents. Buck complains that his father is always policing everything he does, Sour Cream complains about his dad pushing him to be a fisherman, and Steven reveals that he's pretty sure that the Gems blame him for his mother not being around. While all the parents in this situation were well-intentioned, clearly it wasn't coming across to their children that way. A lot of these intentions that could be seen as filler were actually to build up to the relationship between Blue and Yellow Diamond's parental decisions with Pink. Steven saw bad, well-intentioned parenting on Earth, but he also saw good parenting. Vidalia and her two sons is a good example, as well as Lars's parents. In the episode episode The New Lars, it was clear how happy Steven was to see loving parents who were supportive and who very obviously loved their son. Over time, the gems also realized how harmful they were being, and they changed their ways of interacting with Steven. They're still not perfect in everything they do, but they are much better. For example, they are much more open with him about gem knowledge and about his mother's past. In the start of the series, they thought that keeping secrets from him would be to his benefit, but they were very wrong. Them keeping those secrets is what led to a lot of Steven's inner turmoil, as well as the kidnapping of Greg. Steven bearing witness to all of this was meant to help lead to the emotional reveal that Pink Diamond was abused by her parental figures. While Blue and Yellow full-heartedly thought that they were doing what was the best for everyone, it was clear that they weren't and that everyone was miserable. From the Diamond stance, they believed that locking her in a tower and punishing her for not adhering to the status quo was the best solution that only benefited her in the long run. But from Pink's perspective, she was just made to feel like she meant nothing to them, like she was useless and defective, like she didn't belong and wasn't a diamond. This is why when Steven finally met and confronted the diamonds, he was able to tell them to their faces that how they were treating Pink wasn't normal and that it was abusive. While he's seen plenty of parental mishaps on Earth, he's also seen a lot of really great instances of parenting, like with his dad, the Maheshwarns, the Barigas, and the Crystal Gems as time has gone on. They make their mistakes from time to time, but they have the best intentions because they love their kids. And he can see and understand this because of his experience with other characters' parents. He knows what's normal parenting and what isn't. While Blue and Yellow undoubtedly loved Pink, there were more mistakes than there was success. Steven having the empathy and the ability to understand that is what allowed him to connect to and change the Diamond's minds. However, this is why connecting with Rose has been so hard for him. While this show is about being a child and viewing parenthood from a child's perspective, the main mother and parent of the show is missing. Rose hasn't ever been alive at the same time that Steven has been, and so Steven will never truly be able to experience what she would be like as a mother. It's shown in episodes like Storm in the Room what he wants her to be like, but it's also shown in Change Your Mind that he will never find that out because she is 100% gone. This puts him in the sticky situation of needing to learn what she was like through others, which as we've seen in the past is an issue in of itself. We can kind of get a glimpse at the type of mother Rose would have been through the tape she left for Steven and the items that she left for him in Lion's Mane, but outside of that we may never know the type of mother she would be. Steven may never know the type of mother she would be, which is so painfully ironic considering that parenthood is one of the main themes of the show. While Steven may have mixed feelings about his mother, you can clearly tell that it bothers him that he's never even met her. Whenever he sees his friends interacting with their mothers, you can catch him looking longingly. What type of person was she? And what would she think of him? It's hard not to think about these things even if your feelings on your parents are complicated. And that's what makes this dynamic so unique. Because for all the parents and parental figures that we do see and have in the show, the one that matters the most to Steven isn't there. He's learned over time that he doesn't need Rose to have a fulfilling family. Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl make excellent maternal figures, even if it's taken over a year for them to properly adapt to that role. Greg is also an excellent father who has been supportive and loving of his son throughout the entire ordeal, through kidnappings and all. While a lot of this arc was of him accepting his identity and reaffirming that he isn't his mom, it's also been about accepting that she isn't there with him, and that's okay. A lot of this arc has been about letting go of Rose Quartz and Pink Diamond, not just for Steven, but for the other gems as well. Pearl is letting go of Rose and trying to move past her love for her, and all the other crystal gems are trying to let go of the rose-tinted vision they had of her and to make their own identities that aren't connected to her perception of them. Similarly, Steven is trying to let go of the identity that was previously pushed upon him by everyone around him, as well as separating himself from her legacy to make his own. But of course, those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you know of any more hidden themes that were overlooked? And if you liked this video, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon to receive notifications from me. Today's video is powered by Patreon. Special thank you to Charlize Jefferson and Sodden Grider, who are my top tier patrons. It's because of people like them that I can continue to make and improve on my content. All that being said, I will see you in the next video. Have an amazing day, guys.